All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm going to call the August 5th, 2026 meeting of the Auburn School Committee to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll start down here on my right with introductions.
Dan Poisson, Ward 5.
Lydia Chapman, Ward 4.
Corin McGuigan, Ward 1.
Pamela Albert at large.
Sue Doris, Superintendent.
Pat Gaudier, Ward 3.
Adam Platts, City Council Representative.
Scott Anier, Assistant Superintendent.
Thank you, everyone. And Jay, Rich, and Misty Chapman could not be here tonight. I'm going to start with the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the approval of tonight's agenda, as well as the approval of the minutes of the July 15th, 2026 meeting, as well as the approval of the certified contracts of Juan Lee, art teacher at Washburn and East Auburn, and Jude Lavasser, math teacher at Auburn Middle School. Do I have a motion? Corin, second Pat. All those in favor? Motion carries. We do not have any recognition tonight. It does not look like there's anyone here for public participation tonight. We do not have a presentation. We do not have a school committee student representatives report. So we will move to the superintendent's report. Dr. Doris.
Thank you very much. I have one item tonight, and that is the school committee calendar for 2026-2027. I did provide you with a paper copy tonight, and just to summarize the calendar, we have regular meetings, usually 2 a month, and that there is an exception. We only have 1 meeting in February, 1 in April, and 1 in July. And then I want to note that we have 2 workshops. The first is September 16th, and that is our goal-setting workshop. And the next workshop that we have will be October 21st, and that is for the school committee self-assessment. And then, for those of you who have been around, you know that during the month of March, we have all of our budget meetings. So you can see we're pretty much meeting once a week during the month of March. So you'll note some of those are special meetings for the budget. And then we have a meeting that is tentatively scheduled for April 28th in case we need to meet about the budget. And that's it about the calendar. Are there any questions? All right, that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Doris. I do not have a chairperson's report tonight, other than just to remind everyone that we've rescheduled the workshop that was going to be for tonight, the school committee goal setting workshop, to September 16th at 4:30, so that everyone could be here for that. Moving on, Adam, do we have a city council update?
No City Council update.
We have our committee reports, our standing committee, the subcommittee, finance subcommittee minutes from July 14th and July 28th are linked. Both of the items from that are coming up in our new business tonight, so I think we can wait until that to discuss. We don't have any other subcommittee minutes or agendas linked, so we don't have any old business tonight. So moving on to new business, I'll entertain a motion to approve the updated budgets for the FY26 CIP bond to include 5 additional projects: the AMS water pump, the ELHS greenhouse installation, the Fairview fire alarm, the Park Avenue boiler, and Park Avenue compressor. Do I have a motion? Corin, do I have a second? Pat. Mr. Anier, would you like to give us a summary on the CIP bond updates? Or whoever wants to speak.
I will do my best. So definitely those areas have been identified with our team at maintenance. The AMS backup water pump, I think in the memo does a nice job explaining there's one pump and there's a backup pump. The backup pump is no longer operable and it needs a replacement. And why does that matter? At this time of the year, it wouldn't be as essential, but in the winter months, if we don't have the other backup pump, if the original pump fails, then we would really run the risk, a severe risk of having burst pipes. So that is pretty essential. The Park Ave boiler, just through their regular maintenance plan, have identified that there is a very important gasket for one of the unit pieces that needs replacement. It can be done, it just needs to be done. If we were to wait and put that off any longer, after it's already been identified, could be catastrophic. And then the compressor that generates the airflow through the main office and library area has been down for quite some time, and through the work of identifying not only that gasket, but that compressor has also been identified as a need, and so we don't have the proper airflow exchange that needs to take place in those areas. The ELHS greenhouse, as we've been talking about for quite some time, it's been purchased, it's been on site, we've pursued the grants. The grants do not allow for the construction of it, so that has placed us at that position of now, we've worked with the Public Works Department and tried to get the cost down as much as possible. And really, in order to do the proper installation, we really need to have a contractor be able to do it, in order to maintain the warranty and have someone with experience of putting together, a significant purchase that we've made in this greenhouse so it can be operable and maintained for years to come. And then the last one is the fire suppression system at Fairview. Again, through our ongoing reviews and inspections, that's the word I was looking for, inspections, we have 4 of them. Fairview is at the most critical stage of needing its fire suppression system updated, and the components that have been identified, some need replacement and other parts need to be replaced. And it is a life safety measure, so it kind of rises quite high up on the list. And how do we get there? Looking at the 2 bonds, well, the 1 bond, but broken up into 2 parts. The East Auburn package, which is moving along. I have a site visit tomorrow, and the word on the street is the actual ERU lands on Tuesday. Significant. That's a side note, but I was pretty excited to get that information this afternoon. Nonetheless, that we had allocated $800,000 from that, $1 million bond. That is under what we had allocated for the actual cost. So to move some of those monies that had already been in that CIP bond to these purchases. And then the storage building, which is the other $200,000 that we had worked with Public Works to identify for storage at the high school. Instead of doing 1 large building, they have moved to a different model of having 3 smaller ones. We've visited we've done some walkthroughs, identified the right sites, and it actually makes more sense for there to have multiple sites, and that cost would be $80,000, out of the $200,000. So the savings from both of those pieces allows us to get to the place for the, I think the total cost there would be the $100,000 for those 4 buildings and 5 elements.
Okay, thank you. So basically, we had originally budgeted the $800,000 for the East Auburn ventilation upgrades, and originally the $200,000 for the storage building at EL, but now that both of those projects are going to cost less, we can now reallocate those funds for these other additional projects. Anyone have any questions, discussion, thoughts? Adam?
The only detail to add, just for anybody following along, a little bit of a reiteration of what Scott said, but the money's been bonded already. We have that money. We can't return that, so we have to do something with that. That would be different than, say, if we had budgeted for something in our budget and we didn't need to spend it, well, we could save that money. In this case, we already have it. We're paying debt service on it. So this is just a reallocation of what the intentional expenses were.
And going to priority facilities maintenance items
That would otherwise eat away at either capital reserve funds
Exactly.
or budget line items.
Anyone else have any thoughts, questions, discussion about any of these? Corin?
I'm just here to be a proponent for the greenhouse. I've been working with the group to bring that forth, and it's very exciting. I went over there the other day just checking it out, and nothing's happened yet, but we had a meeting to talk about this bond here, and I'm I'm just very excited if you have any questions about it and what our, 5-year plan is and what our vision is for that. Let me know.
Okay. No other questions, discussion before we move on? Okay, so seeing none, I will entertain a motion, so all those in favor of approving the updated budgets for the FY26 CIP bond to include the 5 additional projects, AMS water pump, ELHS greenhouse installation, Fairview fire alarm, Park Ave boiler, and Park Ave compressor. All those in favor? Motion carries. Moving on, I'll entertain a motion to authorize an expenditure of up to $25,000 from the ELHS Capital Reserve Fund to enlarge the geothermal system opening to allow for removal and repair of the modular units. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Adam, second. Corin. And there is a memo attached. So we also spoke about this at our last Finance Committee meeting. Scott, are you going to give the update on this?
Yes, certainly. I think the first piece right out of the gate is I just want to give a huge amount of credit to John McGinley, who is our systems operation manager that works for the City of Auburn and is housed at the high school and really kind of oversees the operation of the systems that are quite extensively involved at the high school. John came on board after the opening of the school and has been working alongside every one of the subcontractors and the general contractor through all of our issues that have popped up. And some of them are, I guess, the growing process of developing and understanding how the system works. Essentially, what has come about is some of the systems haven't operated into to the capacity or to the level of specifications, and so that has caused some issues with some of the equipment. And so John is consistently and constantly working with all of the vendors that are involved in all that process to make sure that we are not having to be the ones that own some of those things that have developed over time with the operation of the geothermal system. However, 2 of the 8 units have now reached, again, the catastrophic level and need to be replaced. The way the building was designed was for any of the work that was to take place was to happen down inside of the hatch. The unfortunate thing is these units contain a refrigerant that is no longer allowed to be replicated outside of the factory in order to be installed, which would result in us having to replace all of the other 6. And it's a federal statute that of the use of this refrigerant, its transportation of the refrigerant, all of those things. So that came about after the designs were developed and implemented into place for the construction of the geothermal system. So the only way to fix these 2 units, so we're only running at 75%, the only way to fix those is that they have to be removed and sent back to the factory. And prior to that, the design of the hatch hole was 6x6, which would have been able to support moving of any of the other pieces of equipment other than these modules. And so now we're faced with the situation of those modules have to come out and be sent back to the manufacturer to be rebuilt there and then come back and be reinstalled in the building. The only way for them to get out is to expand the 6x6 hatch to a 6x9 hatch. And so we've done a lot of measuring and done a lot of work with the contractor who would do the moving, the shipping, as well as the manufacturer of how large and how do we move this safely and send it away and have it come back. And so those are all other discussions that are taking place of how that's all going to take place, how that's all going to be delivered, and the costs associated with that. But no matter what, we have found that if we have to do any other work on these that go beyond the scope of what can be done in-house, they have to be shipped away. That hatch has to be larger. So for the rest of the duration of this building, which we hope is 100 years, that in order to move things out, we need to make that hatch size larger. And so we've been working with Harriman to try to figure out all of the ramifications of what it takes to make that larger in terms of moving beams, setting up new piping, all of those pieces, fireproofing, just the entire scope of that. So they've been partnering with us, and so that conversation with Amanda and Harriman has landed at up to that $25,000 in order to expand it from 6x6 to 6x9.
Anyone have any questions about?
So $25,000 seems not a lot of money to do what you just said. It seems to me like you were gonna tell us we had to pay more after.
At this moment in time, we are looking at the 25,000 to expand the hatch opening. All the other things that need to take place to, not a geothermal expert, but what I've come to learn is that water flow and water pressure are as just about the most essential element to making the system run. And so John is consistently working with the manufacturer, the systems control operations, the mechanical operations, all of the other elements that go with that to try to ensure that if we get these units out and come back and replaced, that we're not facing this problem again, as well as who's taking responsibility for getting those things repaired, installed, all of the other pieces that go with what needs to happen for these two modules that need to go back to the manufacturer. He's working with all of those as we speak to say who's taking responsibility for this.
And the financial responsibility?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
But yeah, go ahead, Adam.
I mean, to be a realist, though, it's not. I mean, the spectrum here is between a warranty covering everything and us paying for zero, and us paying for everything. So it could be anything in between. That's the reality. The way I look at this is, I think unfortunately this is one of those things that you just have to do. If you take I haven't looked at the. At one point in the past, I had looked at the oil and electricity numbers for the high school. When you compare, I mean, this geothermal system saves a lot of money for the school department. So even in the long-term scope of things, you invest $25,000 here into the system, it's still more efficient than having an oil boiler. So you kind of have to do it. My opinion is that you kind of have to do it. I think what this really knocks on, though, is what does our capital reserve fund look like moving forward? I think it was very intelligent of us to create it and to fund it. Perhaps we've underestimated the maintenance cost of some of these very complex and finicky systems. So, I'll vote to support this. I think as we move forward, we again need to understand what portion of our budget is going into that capital reserve fund every year, because my suspicion is more things will break than we have projected for or estimated for. So specific to this issue, I think you got to do it unless you want to see the demise of a very efficient heating system. But long term, I think we need to have a conversation about the ELHS capital reserve fund, because I think a lot of stuff like this will come up.
And also, too, I think just given the situation that we're in now in terms of the repair of any of these units in the future, it's now clear that they would have to get removed in order to be repaired. They can't be repaired on site. So the opening needs to be large enough to get them out down the road as well. So just a reminder, I believe we have $400,000 in the ELHS capital reserve, and we have spent none, right? I don't think we've spent any of it to date. Is that correct? I think. Correct. Yeah. So this would be the $25,000 coming out of that $400,000 capital reserve fund that we have set aside for EL.
Did this group not approve the funding from the capital reserve in order to get the approval of the design plans for the changes in the CTE programming? But that didn't exceed what we're asking for here.
No, definitely not. Yeah, we'll have to go back and look at that. Yep. Does anyone have any other thoughts, questions?
Well, with that, maybe if at some point we can hear what we have in that capital reserve, you know, we can get that, that would be good, so we can kind of get our hands around that.
Yep.
So this is just to create that hole. For us, it feels as if we own the building, it's part of the building, it's not really part of the system. So at some point in time, some unit is gonna have to come out. It could be 50 years from now, that would.
I think to Scott's point, you know, like he was saying, like the building itself and any like construction pieces that need to happen in the building really falls on us. But the hope would be that the repair of the units themselves, you know, will fall under a warranty. That would be the goal, and that we're not incurring expenses for that. But as Scott said, like all of that's being worked on currently. But we at least need to start the process of getting the space large enough to get it out. And, right.
So yes, that's why we're trying to, you know, there's going to be a timeline of how to sequence these events as they unfold, because the geothermal system works its hardest probably in this time of the year and through the shoulder season, spring and fall. So we're trying to, if this gets approved and we get this, the hatch expanded, that sets us up for a timeline for the system to be offline for about 3 to 4 days, which we could do during the Christmas break, to send it away, have it come back repaired so that we could match it up with the February break. I mean, that is the ideal if everything goes according to plan. So because we do have the backup heating, we don't have the backup cooling.
And just, I do have an update. So we did approve an expenditure of $19,500 from the EL Capital Reserve Fund for the CTE spaces. So that we currently have a balance of $380,500 in our ELH Capital Reserve Fund. And so this would be $25,000 out of that. Pat, did you have a question?
Backing up, said about congratulating ourselves for creating this, but we kind of need to be mindful going forward every year of putting the monies back in.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts, discussion before we vote on this motion? Okay. All those in favor of authorizing an expenditure of up to $25,000 from the ELHS Capital Reserve Fund to enlarge the geothermal system opening to allow for removal and repair of the modular units. All those in favor? Motion carries. We have a list of all of our upcoming meetings to make a note of, as well as all of our like subcommittee meetings kind of start up again in August. So please make note of that for the subcommittees that you were on. Do I have any future agenda items or requests for information? And the only other just reminder I know we all received an email from the ELHS class of 76 back in June about are they still planning on doing their dedication next Thursday? Okay. So next Thursday, August 13th, 4 p.m. in front of the statue at EL, they will be dedicating their 50th reunion class gift. So anyone who wants to attend, please feel free. And with that, I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A for the purpose of evaluation of officials, appointees, employees. Do I have a motion? Corin, do I have a second? Dan? All those in favor? We are now in executive session. Thank you and good night.